Welcome to Montague Group's Conversations That Connect. Today we're talking about the leading result of a poll that you've been conducting, Taylor. What's holding people back in their careers? And I believe the top reason is imposter syndrome.
I've been listening to podcasts and I kind of want to get into a little bit of self-development and everything like that, which will help me with my career because I have stepped into, I've got another part to my role now. So I'm kind of stepping into another, like a step up in my career. And I am noticing there is just something that I'm scared of, or I just don't know. So I've been doing a little bit of research about sort of what's holding you back from achieving your potential or stepping into sort of that next era or stage of your career. And the three things that I've sort of noticed the most is perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and feeling lost in your next steps, like not knowing where to go. And I think I have experienced every single one of them throughout the last 12 months. So I put it to LinkedIn and I thought, okay, well, if this is happening to me, it's happening to everybody else. And I thought, let's get people's opinions and let's try to come up with a plan or give suggestions on how we can actually break through that. And the first one is, and I did pop it on there, acknowledgement of these barriers is the first step towards overcoming them. So I thought, let's start the conversation because it's nothing to be ashamed of or scared of because it happens with everybody. So let's just put it on the table.
I think that's it's amazing how all of us experience it, but we all feel like, oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
And everybody's thinking it's just me, but everybody's experiencing it at one stage in your life. You go through that. I was just literally looking up Brené Brown because she talks about perfectionism. And she has a quote about perfectionism, which I used to know and I don't. She says, perfectionism is a 20-ton shield. It's a way of thinking that says, if you look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, I can avoid or minimize criticism and blame. All perfectionism is a 20-pound shield that we carry around, hoping it'll keep us from being hurt, while in truth, it keeps us from being seen.
Oh, deep.
So you basically carry the shield and you block yourself.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
100%. And yeah, like also I think another point which I've just sort of hearing that quote, like there's never a right time to step into something either. And if the opportunity is put to you, it means you're ready and it's the right time. And if it's not, and you're working so hard to get it to that point, that it's not the right time. Like everything is about timing. And I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. And there's a reason why this opportunity has come at this time. And you're not ready. Like you might not be ready. I was not ready when this opportunity became available. It was something that I wanted to do, but I was waiting for that perfect time to do it. And it was not the perfect time. I tell you what, I was scared shitless.
But you were ready to grow.
Exactly. Like it was put on my table for a reason. And yeah, like it was meant to be. So again, like that's another thing, like waiting for that right time, or it might be waiting for that right time to speak to the manager about your promotion, or waiting for the right time to study something else, or waiting for that right time to switch careers or to switch jobs. There's never a right time. It's whether the opportunity is available at that time.
Yeah.
And if you're ready to take on challenges and weather whatever they may bring, and seize them for the learning opportunity that it inevitably becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's an attitude, and it's probably more an attitude than it is about being ready, is being ready in your head to say, well, if an opportunity presents, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I'll make it work. And that's probably a little bit where the imposter syndrome comes in as well. It's like, oh, am I really ready? Am I really prepared for this? Am I the best person? Could it be somebody else? Yes, maybe yes to all those answers, but it's not somebody else, it's you.
Yeah.
So it's stepping into that uncomfortable, unknown space and knowing mentally that I can do this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge. But you know what? If it wasn't, why step into it? Exactly. It has to be tough. It has to be a challenge. And Tayla, when you spoke about, the next step in your career, yes, it wasn't planned. But I look at you and I think what I see is this, it's almost like a bamboo shoot. And I think it's a bamboo that grows down first. Yeah. Before you see the leaves at the top. So the root system that you had or have already is so deep. Like you've got all this experience. And at the top, you see a little few leaves. It looks like it's a very small tree, but actually it's 5 times bigger at the bottom. And that's the work that you've done.
Yeah.
So sometimes you look at the little tree and you forget about all the work that's happening underground.
Yeah.
That makes you ready to start growing upwards, and then the winds will bend you, but they won't move you. They won't let you fall over.
They're not going to break me.
No, they're not going to break you. Yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy, and sometimes you don't know, what is this feeling I have? What is this thing?
Yeah.
And I think if, like you said, if you can acknowledge it, claim it and go, well, I do feel out of my depth, and what can I do to change that? Like you said, you're doing self-development. You're learning about these things so you can give it a name. You can put the spotlight on it and go, okay, it's a thing, and I know how to work around it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the being uncomfortable thing, because I, like my partner Jordan, he's just started like a small business, all of that. So we're very much in that stage now where we're both so uncomfortable, but just so ready to do the work to just, explode, like reach those bamboos to the sky kind of thing. So it's and we talk about this a lot, and he always, one thing that has stuck by him is that be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Correct.
And he tells me that all, like if I'm having a moment or I'm like, I can't do this, like I feel like I don't have the experience, but I'm so nervous. Like my first client meeting, like I was so scared, but it wasn't a disaster. Like it was not a disaster. And the thing that he keeps banging on to me is start being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's the only way that we're going to grow. And then like he's the same, so he very bangs on about that, and it's just keep telling yourself that, and it will happen. But so interesting enough, that uncomfortable stage it's so relevant.
And that's where you grow. You don't grow when you're comfortable. You only grow when you're uncomfortable. And the mindset, if you can have a mindset where you start putting yourself into those uncomfortable positions the whole time, holy camoly, the growth that will be experienced. And just remember, other people feel exactly the same. Like my kids are at that stage now. It's like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Everybody's looking at me. Like, nobody's looking at you. They're all worrying that everybody else is looking at them. So that's just the life that we have and that we live in. I think if you can recognize that. And ultimately, when we talk about the human connection for Montague, we're just humans. We're going through this life and we all experience things. So it's acknowledging that and trying to be okay with it. I think it's a decision every day to go, okay, I'm not feeling the best today, but you know what? I'm acknowledging I'm not feeling the best and I'm moving past it. And sometimes and sometimes you just need a day. You're like, this is the day that I'm not adulting anymore. I'm taking a day for myself, and then move on the next day. That's 100% okay. And maybe that's a full circle. It's like when we talk to clients where we're reminding them that we're recruiting people and people are a package deal. It's not an individual on their own. People are connected with family, with friends, with stuff that happens in life. Yeah, it's a bit of give and take everywhere.
100%.
And I think there's a like in those periods where you do feel uncomfortable and you're learning to be comfortable with that, you kind of go, okay, but what do I know about myself? I know that I am resourceful. I know that I can, like you were saying before, Tay, no, I actually have been laying the foundation, and I do know things for all this time. There is stuff, so you can sort of go back and review your strengths and work out where you can step, so you're through that uncomfortability to come to that next stage and gain some confidence. But it's a tricky pathway in that period of time.
Yeah. And there's also the flip side, where a situation is uncomfortable and it's not a place where you're going to be learning, and it's not a place where you're going to be grow. So step out, get the hell away. Move away. There's also that where you think, oh, maybe it's uncomfortable, I'll just stay a little bit and maybe I can make it better, maybe I can change things. I think you have to see it for what it is, and sometimes people don't change, and that might mean that you need to make the move and get away, move out.
Being very clear on your boundaries and values.
And values, yes, absolutely.
100%. And I think that's a big one in this industry as well, values. And I've spoken to a couple of clients recently, and like they've been burnt before, just purely like that they but they may not have collaborated with somebody who has the same values and morals as what they do, or their company too. So that's also another big thing too. Like if it's not right, step out.
Yeah, if the relationship is not there, it's and it's the same for us. Like if we're working with a client, we've had a client where we worked with them and it just didn't gel, and that's okay. It's like that's 100% fine. It's just not our connection. It might be somebody else's connection. There's enough connections to go around for everybody to make money and to be part of the recruitment world, really. It's a life lesson. I try and teach my kids that. I think there's a balance between being resilient and staying in a tough situation, but then there's also that balance of recognizing, okay, I'm not learning. This is not a positive experience for me. I'm going to move on, or being resilient, and when it's tough, just pushing through, because on the other side you've learned a lot.
Taking the time to reflect on and saying, I've learned all I can learn. Now it's becoming unhealthy, so now I need to go.
Correct. Choosing you.
100%.
And I think, sorry, go ahead, Naomi.
I was just going to say, with imposter syndrome and things like that, what do you think would be, I mean, as you said, we've all experienced, I guess the next step would be to just be really transparent, do you feel? And just to be honest about where you're at and how you feel, or not really?
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
I think the way to try to do you mean like overcoming imposter syndrome? Yeah,
like facing with it, or facing it, or I suppose dealing with it. If you're in a situation where you feel like you're not able to sort of fake it till you make it, I guess, for want of a better term, would you just be honest? Would you just say what you're struggling with in recruitment, or in maybe only personally? What would you say?
I don't know. I think it depends on the people that are around you at the time. Like if you feel comfortable enough to say that, I think like with the relationship that we have, we could be like, okay, I'm feeling a bit anxious today, and it'd be like, okay, why are you feeling anxious? Is there anything we can help you with to take that off, or that sort of thing? And again, like we have spoken, well, not like officially spoken about imposter syndrome, but like I bought a car and it's a car that I thought that I may not have, like, and I'm driving it and I'm like, this isn't my car. How did I get this? Like this, no, like this isn't me. So it's like that unintentional imposter syndrome that I have sort of spoken about, and it's sort of reiterated, and it's like, no, you got yourself here through this, and this. So I think maybe putting it on paper. Like if you're struggling or something like that, all right, like if you're doubting your abilities, put it on paper. And I can guarantee you your abilities are a lot more when you're writing it down than what you actually think. And yeah, like,
or ask somebody that knows you really well. Like if you ask somebody that knows you really well, it's like if you had to describe me to somebody else, what would you say?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at things that people pick up that you don't even think about. And you're like, oh, yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah.
That. And yeah, sorry, go ahead, Tayla.
I was going to say, even like on that writing down things or speaking to people, like your accomplishments, like write down your accomplishments and what you've overcome, because I guarantee you, if you really actually thought about it, you're like, oh, actually, I deserve to be here. But your mind's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're in this role? Like, you don't know how to do this. It's that self-doubt does come into it. So reiterating to yourself, this is why I'm here, because of X, Y, and Z. And yeah, I think
those voices.
Question, but
the voices in your head going, you don't belong here. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Who do you think you are? That kind of. I think it's difficult when you're in work to acknowledge that you feel like certain environments, absolutely, but there's a huge vulnerability piece that if you admit, I don't feel like I can do this role, or I don't feel like I have the skills, you're opening yourself to somebody saying, oh, well, I was thinking the same about you. You know, it can start becoming, so that vulnerability piece, I think, be very wise when you choose the audience to who you reveal your vulnerability. And like Tayla said, some environments, it's a safe environment. Some environments just aren't.
Yeah.
It's not safe. So you need to really reevaluate, who do you speak with? And maybe it's not speaking in the work environment, but speaking to somebody that you know that's not involved, that can highlight those areas where you don't even realize you've got the skills and the experience to do that. And you know, a lot of people feel like they have imposter syndrome, but they actually do the job, and they do the job really well, and they still think they have this, I'm going to be found out that I can't do the job, but they're actually doing the job. And you're like, you're doing it. You're actually kicking goals, and you still think you can't do the job. So just stand back and see what you've actually achieved. You're doing the thing that you think you can't do, and you're going to be found out by not being able to do it, but you're actually doing it. So it's that psychological mental game. So sometimes it's just good to have a line in the sand of somebody going, no, you can do it.
Yeah.
I believe you can do it. And you have the skills. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, it's going to be a learning curve, but you'll come out on the other side.
And that's where company culture is so important, as is like if you've got any kind of mentorship, or even if people are going through periods of career growth, how are they being supported through that? Because there is an emotional component to work. There always has been.
Huge, huge component to, we're emotional beings.
Yeah.
And the stories we're telling ourselves a million times a day.
And the self-doubt.
And everything that goes with it. Culture. That might be the next podcast.
I love that.
Yes, it's really important. Not really, it's hugely important.
100%.
So we have the poll up. Tayla, you've got the poll on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes.
And
have your say. What are you feeling lost with? And maybe we'll touch on sort of each step a little, well, each, I guess, option a little bit more, and sort of delve into how to overcome that, and sort of, yeah, put some steps in place, do some action plans, that type of thing. And yeah, reach out to me if you're another feeler of imposter syndrome, because so far that's the winning one by far. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's relevant and we can all overcome it together.
So that's it today for Montague Group's Conversations That Connect. Make sure you check out our other episodes, or if you would like to add your answer to the poll, look up Montague Group or Taylor Allen on LinkedIn. Catch you soon, guys. Bye.